All right, everybody, welcome in to Bleav in Steelers, powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Jarrett Bailey here with you as always. The Steelers make a couple of splash is a heavy word. Let me read. Maybe I shouldn't say splash. A couple of notable moves, to say the least, on Tuesday, releasing cornerback Darius Slay, and for whatever reason, signing wide receiver Adam Thielen, claiming him off waivers, in one move being expected, the other one coming out of absolutely nowhere. And we'll talk about both of those today. So if you're watching, please be sure to subscribe. If you're listening as a podcast, please be sure to comment, subscribe, follow along, all that good stuff. Should we start with the Slay thing? I think that kind of, that's the thing that happened first. So I guess it makes sense to start there. The Steelers released Darius Slay, which the writing was on the wall on Sunday when he was a healthy scratch, and he hasn't played well all year, to say the least. He's allowed, per Next Gen Stats, he's allowed a passer rating north of 100, 26 completions, north of 300 yards when he's the nearest defender. Hasn't played well all year. And when they signed Asante Samuel to the practice squad, it was only a matter of time before he got a helmet. And then once he did, Darius Slay didn't get in the game, was didn't suit up, was a healthy scratch. I think the writing was kind of on the wall. I even tweeted it on Sunday saying, all right, Darius Slay, healthy scratch. I wonder if he requests his release. Adam Schefter reports that it was a mutual parting of ways. I assume Darius Slay just said, look, if I'm not going to play, then I'd like to go somewhere else where I can play. The Steelers were probably more than willing to grant him that, considering, how we've seen him perform this year. So makes sense for both sides. Asante Samuel Jr. comes in. He'll get, he'll be the new starter on the outside with Joey Porter, which is good. I thought he did fine on Sunday, albeit the Bills didn't really have to throw the ball a lot. Josh Allen only threw the ball 23 times. But it makes sense for both parties going forward. I would bet at this point he probably goes back to Philadelphia. Even if he's not going to play a whole ton, right now it looks like that locker room needs him. He was there for a long time, respected voice in the room, helped them win a Super Bowl last year. They're 8-4 right now after they lost to Chicago, or 9-3, whatever they are. Regardless, a lot of internal questions in terms of offensive related things. And even though he's not a guy who plays on the offensive side of the ball, a veteran leader who's helped a team win a Super Bowl can certainly help smooth things over. So I expect him to go back to Philadelphia. And if he does, hey, more power to him. Wish him well. Nothing against the guy. He just didn't play well. And the signing was weird from the beginning. The Steelers have done this so many times over the last half decade or so with the number 2 cornerback spot, where it's just one-year veteran Band-Aids that aren't good. They tried it with Akello Weatherspoon. He didn't play well. Went to the Rams and actually played pretty solid. But they tried it, with Patrick Peterson and Levi Wallace and Dante Jackson. I don't think I'm missing a name in there. I might be. But that's kind of been how they've gone about it over the last 4 or 5 years, is signing veteran number 2 guys who are on, the last few holes of their career and going about it that way to put at the number 2 spot opposite of, what has been Joey Porter. But you remember when Joey Porter was a rookie, it was Patrick Peterson and Levi Wallace as the starting corners. That was brutal. Levi Wallace was brutal, which, at the time the signing of Levi Wallace made sense because he was fine in Buffalo. He's a fine number 2 corner. And then it comes to Pittsburgh and just things didn't work out. Patrick Peterson, when they moved him back to safety at the end of 2023, because everybody got hurt, he did fine. Corner, though, he was not playable at that spot. So nothing new in terms of a CB2, a veteran signing CB2 not working out. And now they cut him loose. And quite literally, minutes after Schefter announces or, reports that Slay's been released, He reports that the Steelers claim Adam Thielen. It's like, sure. I don't understand it personally from an Adam Thielen perspective. I know he got claimed off waivers. It's a little bit different than like if he had cleared waivers and then could sign wherever he wanted. But this is a guy in Adam Thielen who before the season got traded back to Minnesota. And we kind of expected him to play somewhat of a bigger role in the offense. Not necessarily be the number 2, but you remember Jordan Addison was suspended for, what was it, the first 3 weeks of the year, first 4 weeks of the year. And they didn't really have anybody reliable outside of Justin Jefferson. Thielen wanted to change the scenery. It was going to be his last year. He wanted a chance to win somewhere, going back to his home state, the team that drafted him. Like, it made perfect sense why the Vikings traded for him. Played well last year. Again, not setting the world on fire. He's not the Pro Bowler that he was in 2017, 2018. But, like, it made sense why he would want to go back to Minnesota and why the Vikings would want to bring him in when Jordan Addison wasn't going to be there. And so they trade for Thielen. I think it was a 5th round pick. Maybe they sent her a 6th round pick that the Vikings traded for him. And so they acquire Thielen. But his usage throughout the year, I mean, it's been next to nothing. Only 8 catches for 69 yards. Was a healthy scratch against Seattle. And similar to Darius Slay being a healthy scratch, he goes to Minnesota and says, look, I would like a chance to play somewhere. This is my last NFL season. I'd like to, go somewhere to compete. And so they, similar to Darius Slay, they mutually part ways. And for some reason, the Steelers are where he lands. I thought that New England would have been where he went. Obviously, right now, I mean, they're 11-2 atop the AFC, but Todd Downing, their receiver coach, was in Minnesota with Thielen in 2018. So there's a little bit of connective tissue there where I thought that, all right, if you want a chance to win a ring, go to the number 1 seed in the AFC right now. You've got a coach with familiarity there, incredible stability already there in New England. So that's a place that made sense to me. Pittsburgh didn't make sense to me for all the reasons it didn't make sense to you watching or listening. They're 6-6. If it was just about playing, I could see it because, like, they signed him on Tuesday. I mean, there's a chance he gets a helmet on Sunday. Like, why should, I don't know, why should Calvin Austin get a helmet over Adam Thielen right now? I'd put both Adam Thielen and MVS in the lineup. Like, it can't hurt, considering what we've seen from the other guys. If MVS can stretch the field, Adam Thielen, even though he's 35, still a solid route runner, which could help open up things in the offense. Like, this is the things that we have to talk about now. Because it comes back to just the horrible job they've done at addressing the wide receiver position. And I've said it a few times already over the last week or so. But I was one of the people who said that they should trade George Pickens. I defended the trade when it happened. And I have since raised my hand and said, I was very wrong about that. Not only should they not have traded George Pickens, we've seen these tweets for the past 2 weeks now. He's got more receiving yards than the entire Steelers receiving corps combined. And it's very clear that he's better than DK Metcalf. But George Pickens might legitimately be an all-pro this year. So the complete blunder of trading George and hoping that DK could do what George does when he just can't. He's not a great separator, but he also isn't like a 50-50 guy. George is the epitome of 50-50 guy. So, I mean, just the complete mismanagement of the receiver position, not just this year, but last season when they traded away Deontay Johnson without having a suitable replacement in-house to go along with George Pickens. And then when Pickens goes down, they couldn't do anything offensively. And now, going back to those first few dominoes falling, this is the next domino to fall, is signing Adam Thielen, because Calvin Austin hasn't Like, Calvin Austin's not a number 2 receiver. Calvin Austin on a good team is a number 4 receiver. He's Jalen Naylor in Minnesota. He's Jalen Coker in Carolina. He's fast, good slot, field stretcher, but he's not a number 2 receiver. I don't see a reason why you don't at least try it with Adam Thielen on Sunday. What do you have to lose? Your receiving core might be the worst in football. It's certainly one of the 3 to 5 worst in football. What do you have to lose? Why claim him if you're not going to use him? It was the same thing they did with Mike Williams last year. Why trade for Mike Williams? Albeit, you give up a 6th-round pick. It comes out in the wash to practically nothing. But why trade for Mike Williams if you weren't going to use him? He had 1 catch against Washington, the game-winning touchdown, and then he hardly saw the field. Again, for Adam Thielen's sake, this is a guy who wants to play. I would assume that Aaron Rodgers also wants some vets. So that would be the thing that makes sense to me in terms of why they signed him. Is Aaron went to Omar and said, I need a veteran receiver who knows what the hell to do to get open. Please go get me Adam Thielen. At least he's a guy who's been there, done that, and can comprehend and listen when I tell him what to run, and he can separate and get open and open up the offense. That's the only thing that I could think of as to why they would do it. Is Aaron himself was like, please get me Adam Thielen. Because nothing that they currently have is working. Roman Wilson isn't good. Calvin Austin isn't good. Ben Skoranek is a special teams guy who's the number 5 or 6 receiver by default because he's a good special teamer. They don't have anybody out wide that they can consistently count on. DK Metcalf right now is getting 4 catches and 30 yards a game. It's not all DK's fault. They need a legitimate number 2 guy to help open things up. And so maybe they're hoping that Thielen can be that. They're really picking at straws. There's nothing else that you can really do in December. This is why you make moves in March, April, May, June, July. So you're not scrambling and throwing freaking darts at the wall and hoping Adam Thielen can give you the 5 best games of his life at age 35. By the way, happy birthday, Aaron Rodgers, age 42. So doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me other than the fact that Aaron went to Omar and Mike Tomlin and was like, look, the receivers we have aren't good. I need somebody who's at least competent. Can we go get Adam Thielen? And so they did. Again, pure speculation on my part. I'm not going to pretend I have ears in the building telling me things. This is just a guess, especially after what we saw against Buffalo. 166 total yards of offense. Aaron only completed 10 passes. Constant miscommunications with receivers and tight ends. No one can get open. Got to try something. I would give Adam Thielen and MVS helmets this week. Because what has Roman Wilson done to show you he deserves a helmet? What has Calvin Austin done to show you he deserves a helmet? If you want to keep Roman Wilson in the lineup because he's at least... there's spots on tape where it looks like he's getting open. He has a couple garbage time touchdowns. I would give Roman Wilson a helmet over Calvin Austin for sure. But at this point, you got to try everything. What's it hurt? What does it hurt trying MVS, a guy that Aaron's played with before and has had success with? Albeit it was 5 years ago. But nothing that they've done in these first 12 games has consistently worked. And I don't think that you claim Adam Thielen if you're not going to use him. But again, they traded for Mike Williams last year and did piss all with him. So I could be wrong. But I think that we could see Adam Thielen get a helmet this Sunday. I hope he does. Because what could it hurt? He's already the second best receiver that they have on the roster, legitimately. If he does start, you can bet your ass I'm betting an Adam Thielen anytime touchdown on Sunday. Because why the heck not? Because why the heck not? It'd be fun to see. I'm not expecting huge things, but I can only try to rationalize why they're doing it. While we're here, we're going to start doing mailbags every week. I'm going to try to do them on Friday as part of the preview show. So if you're listening or watching, you can submit questions. I'll put it out on Twitter at JBaileyNFL. I'll put it on the YouTube as well. However, we can, get you guys questions in. We'll do it every Friday. Something new that I want to try just to, get a little bit more community involved with the show. So keep an eye on that. Follow me on Twitter at JBaileyNFL. I'll, do the weekly tweet for it. If it catches on, I'll keep doing it. If it doesn't, then, I won't. But, just something that I want to try. Let's check out what a few people are saying. One here. Still won't matter. Rodgers is old and broken. Mason is absolutely horrid, and they won't play the one decent quarterback we have, Will Howard. All right, I'm going to stop this right now. Will Howard is a 6th-round pick. He was not drafted to be the future of the franchise. I appreciate you watching, Jeremy. Genuinely. I'm not trying to be, sound like I'm high and mighty or whatever like that. Like, there's saying Will Howard is a decent quarterback. Like, we don't know that. And if you want to use that as an argument saying, okay, we don't know they should play him, whatever, I'll listen to that. But everybody who's on this Will Howard train, I think Will is a nice dude. People get way too blinded by hope. He was a 6th-round pick. If he ends up being a good backup, job well done. He was not drafted to be the future of the Steelers. They're going to draft a quarterback in April in the 1st round. Try to figure it out there. But we really need to stop with this, like pounding the table. Oh, Will Howard, he's the best quarterback. No, he's not. I'm trying my hardest not to get annoyed about it all because it is genuinely like, we heard it with Mason. Like, as soon as Aaron started playing a little bit bad, people were like, oh, put in Mason. Put in Mason. And then Mason doesn't play well. And now we're going to do this thing with Will Howard. It's just like, come on, man. If they want any shot at like winning games that matter, Aaron's the best shot at doing it. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. So again, if you want to use that as the argument of, okay, you want to see what you have in Will Howard, fine. If they fall to 6-7 and you want to see what you have in Will, fine. I get it. But to be like, oh, Will Howard is the future of the team. No, he's not. I can confidently say he is not. He's a 6th-round pick. Look at the history of 6th-round picks. They're one guy, Tom Brady, and now everybody thinks that a quarterback taken in the 6th round could be their Tom Brady. He's not going to be. I like Will. I think he's going to be a fine backup, but he's not going to be the future of the Steelers. Another one here. Thielen is okay if he can use the middle of the field, but MVS is not it. MVS is just a field stretcher. That's all he's really used for ever. He was only really good in Green Bay. Had a few moments with the Chiefs, but in large part, like, he was on the team that won Super Bowls. It's not like he was integral to it. He's a field stretcher. That's basically what he is. Jason writes in, clearly this isn't a good job by Omar if Adam Thielen is going to help this receiving core. Yeah, and that's the big thing, right? Is that they should have made moves between March and August to help the receiving core. The same way they should have made moves between March and August in 2024 to help the receiving core, and they didn't. Now, that's the biggest problem, is that, yeah, you traded for DK, and that's great, but you didn't do anything else. You were hoping Calvin Austin could be something. You were hoping Roman Wilson could be something. You added no proven talent at the receiver position, and it cost you. The same way it did last year when you didn't add anybody to help George Pickens. So, yeah, it's completely fair to criticize Omar for this because they had ample opportunities to at least try something when it came to a proven outside vet, and they didn't. Could have tried to make a move at the trade deadline. I'm not saying that you had to trade away a first-round pick for Jalen Waddle because, again, you got to worry about your future at quarterback rather than, go all in for this season at that point. But in the offseason, if you could have gotten somebody or signed somebody, like there's plenty of guys that you could have gotten that would have been fine number twos. So I just think that the job that he's done does deserve criticism. I'm not saying fire Omar Khan, but I am saying, like, he's coasted off the Chase Claypool trade, right? Turning that into Joey Porter Jr. and fleecing the Bears. And I admire the fact that he was aggressive last offseason and saying, all right, we're going to trade away Kenny Pickett. We're going to bring in a whole new quarterback room and try something new. Like, I admire that. So at least there is that component of Omar where you know he's willing to make moves and willing to try something different. It's just a matter of, is Art Rooney willing to give him a new head coach to work with? Because Dave Damashek has kind of hinted at this, and I think it's actually a very good point, where I think Omar and people in the front office are quietly pointing fingers, where it's obvious that Tomlin is the much bigger problem. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on, at least in my opinion, where I think that Omar, it comes back to the Mike Williams trade last year, right? They need another receiver. Mike Williams was a fine number 2. And then has a good first game, and they don't use him again. So I don't know. There's been a lot of weird things roster moves wise, but I commend them. I commend him for signing Asante Samuel. That's a good signing. He's a good cornerback that won't just help them this year, but going forward. So Omar's done some good, but the bad that he's done has been so much more under the microscope as it should be, because the offense has been so bad. They need to put more time and effort into making the offense great rather than just consistently investing only in the defense. So that's my thoughts on it. Just wanted to hop on. Didn't expect to do a Steelers episode today. But whenever 2 notable moves are made like that, yeah, I figure I should probably come on here and at least talk about it. Pittsburgh, Baltimore on Sunday. We'll be back on Friday to get you set for the game. Both teams sitting at 6-6 on the season. And as it is right now, the Steelers open as 6.5-point underdogs. That number has now moved to 5.5. So somebody thinks something of the Steelers. Could just be the historic success against Baltimore, which that's fair. I wouldn't be surprised if they won, just because it's Baltimore. They usually play pretty well against Baltimore. The Ravens offense doesn't look good right now. So it wouldn't surprise me if they won. Plus 5.5, I might be willing to take that. Especially because it's at -105. The Ravens minus 5.5 is at -115. So the value is going, all right, take the Steelers to cover and at least see if you can hit it. Over-under is 43.5. I think an under here is the easiest play of the week. The Steelers and Ravens games never are high scoring. Now, I say that with the caveat of the last 2 games. The last regular season game in Baltimore was 34-17, but that's because Russell Wilson threw a pick 6. And the playoff game was at 28-14. But even then, that's less than 43.5. Both offenses look bad. It's going to be bad weather. I would take the under 43.5. Matt asked, do you think they pick up Broderick's 5th-year option? Yes, I do. And again, get questions in for the mailbag. I'm going to try to make that a segment on the Friday shows on top of the preview. So we'll do a preview show along with the mailbag. I'll send out a tweet about it at JBaileyNFL on Twitter. Make sure you're following along. I'll put it as many places as I can. So be sure you're subscribed and all that good stuff. Listen along. Give it a good review. Bump us up the charts. All that really, may not seem important, but it does help out the show. Helps out everything with me involved as well. In terms of what you're getting in your feed for the rest of today and tomorrow, a full Week 13 recap on the pump fake. And yeah, that's about it. Now we'll get you set for Friday on Bleav in Steelers and the pump fake, doing a full Week 14 preview, full Steelers-Ravens preview. And again, we'll get mailbag call out up on Twitter, and then I'll put it up on here as well as soon as possible. That way you guys can submit questions, and we'll come back to it on Friday. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, didn't expect to do an episode today, but Steelers made a couple moves, and I figured I should talk about it. And I'm sure you guys were wanting to see what people had to say about it. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, I see a few people asking about the mailbag. I'll get it up on the YouTube if you don't have Twitter. So we'll make sure that it's out there. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll be back later on again with the pump fake to give you your full week 13 recap. And then later on in the week for a full week 14 preview and a full preview of Ravens and Steelers right here on Bleav in Steelers. Talk to you guys very soon.